Now, not that long ago, Smart completely rebranded themselves and brought out the #1. Yes, that's its official name. However, they've literally just brought out now another new model with kind of more curvy lines. So yes, this is the #3. And it kind of gives off some kind of Mercedes GLC Coupe kind of vibes with the roof sloping down at the back. Let's take a look at their new model. Now, when it comes to price, sadly, when I filmed this video a few weeks ago, I didn't actually know the price when I was there, as I was super early at filming this car. But since then, I have found out that the Smart #3 starts from $32,950, which, funnily enough, is exactly £1,000 more than the Smart #1 starting price. So let's talk some stats on the #3. Now, as I said, compared to the #1, if you look at the one just behind over here, I'd actually argue now that actually kind of has some more squared off looks. The #3, of course, having that kind of coupe styled roof, I think is quite stylish. And I said it does resemble almost like the GLC Coupe that I mentioned earlier at the start. But let's talk range and batteries. Now, range of the Smart #3 will actually go up to 283 miles. Now, of course, this does depend on which variant you go for, so pay close attention to those, as those will definitely affect the range depending on which configuration you go for. Now, all this will be achieved by either a 49 kilowatt-hour battery or 66 kilowatt-hour battery. This is why I say it's very important, because there are different battery and range versions of the Smart #3. So pay close attention to those if range is, of course, really, really important. Now, as with most EVs, their DC rapid charge time is around 30 minutes. This is achieved by 150 kilowatts. So if you go to a rapid charger that is capable of that, you can charge in that time. That's usually from 10 to 80% or thereabouts. But your main goal really is to get the electricity from a cheaper source, which will be on AC charging, such as charging at home. Now, if you can't do that, you just obviously have to shop around if you are going to plunge into having an EV for the first time. But yeah, make sure you get your electricity from a cheap source to make it worthwhile. Now, when it comes to dimensions of the Smart #3, length is 4,400 millimeters, width 1844, and height 1556. So, with all that in mind, let's take a look at the boot. Now, when it comes to the boot, I actually had to have someone show me where the boot button was. And yes, I hate to admit it, but hear me out. Have a look here. Where's the button? I'll give you a few seconds. Not found it? Cool. It's in the middle of the A. Yeah, literally in the middle of the logo, in there. Who knew? That's why I couldn't find the button. But yeah, when it's open, 370 litres, as you see right here. There is a little bit of underfloor storage space as well, which is pretty good, just in case you want to keep the cable, you know, underneath. I don't know if there's a frunk or anything, so we'll take a look at that just in a second. There was in the #1, so I presume there is in the #3. But yeah, kind of underfloor storage space of the cable, which is always good to see. Just, you don't really want it kind of on top of the boot there, or being buried under things when you put stuff in there. Of course, you can fold the seats down as well, but we'll check out all those in just a second. But yeah, let's have a look, see if there's a frunk. Now, I actually don't know if this car has a frunk. I'm presuming it does, because the #1 did. Let's have a look. Oh yeah, maybe. Looks like it. Oh yes, there is. Albeit quite small, in fact. What is this? This must be like a tyre repair kit or something. Oh yeah, tyre repair kit and locking bolts, which obviously this car's very new, not been out on the road or anything like that, because it's in the showroom. But yeah, it's nice to actually see that there is a frunk, kind of front storage, because I definitely have reviewed a few EVs where they don't have any storage at all in front, and just have the electric motors like a traditional car. But it's always good to have like extra storage and cubby holes to store things. But yeah, I'm not sure what I would personally use it for, probably that. But yeah, right, let's have a look at the interior, rear seats, and of course the front seats. Okay guys, well, in the back, well, I've got to say, it's actually a lot more roomier than I initially thought, because traditionally with cars that have like a sloping roof, like a coupe, I guess we could describe it as, you'll usually have less headroom. I'd say the headroom's actually pretty good. I mean, if I sit back properly in the seat, I can get virtually my whole hand, almost including my thumb, above my head, then it's touching the glass, which I'll come on to in a second. Yeah, it's actually surprisingly roomy. For some context, I've got that set up for my driving position. I'm 6'2". I have a slightly shorter body and longer legs. So if you have anyone who's kind of longer in the body, then they might need to just try it out in the back. But I will say the headroom is quite impressive. And I mentioned I was going to talk about the roof. The roof you can't open, and there is no blind. Now that sounds like a negative, but I will say it is heavily tinted. It's barely letting any light in from the lights here, so I'd imagine when you're out and about, it's probably quite pleasant, I'd say, letting in enough light but without too much. And I'm pretty sure, I think that might even be standard, because I think this is a standard car, so that's pretty good, because in certainly Mercedes, that I have reviewed quite a bit, it's always an option. Well, almost always an option anyway. But yes, other bits in the back here, there's one USB-C port there and a USB-A port, so standard USB. Vents there, storage behind the seats, storage in the doors, and of course, most importantly, cup holders there as well. So yeah, surprisingly a lot more roomier than I initially thought. So that can only be a good thing. Right. Well, let's take a look at the front and check out the multimedia system. Okay guys, right, well this is the front of the Hashtag 3, and I've got to say, I think virtually everything here is the same as the Smart Hashtag 1, like the one just over there, kind of almost the same layout. Seats are different though, and I did note that they are extremely soft and comfortable, which is nice. Compare that with, like, for example, the Mercedes EQA. I'd actually argue that the EQA seats are quite firm, but in this they are super soft. There's leather on the outside and then kind of fabric in the middle. They also have this kind of like, these little poppers on the side here with Smart logos on them, which is obviously a little bit different, not seen that before. Smart always do this, they always have like some kind of funky designs, and certainly here you've got like fabric up here, which is a bit different, but having said that, it looks quite stylish, and yeah, I quite like it. So, let's have a look at storage and things. So there is a lot of underfloor storage space under here, which is quite nice. 12-volt socket there, 2 USB-C ports there for charging. Then in here, cup holders and storage in there. Pretty good. Seats are electric. They are just down here on the bottom. Steering wheel is manual. That goes, of course, up and down like that. But yeah. Other than that, I think it's pretty much the same as the Hashtag 1. So I guess now what we can do is turn our attention to the screen just here. And I have noted, I know the Smart Hashtag 1 had kind of like a little avatar voice assistant, which was a fox, which looked a bit like this. And this one is that a leopard or a cheetah? I think it's a cheetah or a leopard. I think it's a cheetah. I really should know my animals. But anyway, I'm pretty sure it's a cheetah. But yeah, so you can ask it to do various different things. Oh, look, he's got a ball. Okay. But yeah, you can ask it to do various different things. He's always down there just kind of doing a few animations. You can activate it by saying the phrase, "Hello, Smart.
How may I help you?"
And then you can ask it to do various different things. And you can see it's even translating my transcript up there, but yeah, we'll cancel that for now. So yes, the multimedia system. Now, it does look quite cluttered when you first look at it. There's a lot going on the home screen. You know, if you look at the top left, there's loads of icons there, top right, loads of icons there, and climate control all down there. So yeah, it looks a lot. Now, what I would personally do is have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto connected. However, this kind of goes against my ethos with EVs. When using an EV, you're better using the in-cars multimedia system because it will integrate with charging and help with that, whereas Apple CarPlay and Android Auto won't really do that too much. Now, I said the home screen looks quite cluttered, but if you go onto the menu just up here, this is where it kind of makes a bit more sense. You can kind of see what's going on. You can go to navigation, you've got media, stuff about energy, settings, phone, messages, and of course, your smartphone integration, Android Auto and Apple CarPlay on the bottom. But of course, to navigate on the sat-nav, all you need to do is just tap navigation and then tap to search on the top right-hand corner. The only other final thing that I will add, and this is something I do cover in videos, as everyone knows going forward, steering wheel. They are buttons. They are not touch buttons. They are physical buttons. Ones you can press and, well, actual buttons, which is good to see. The only thing, the climate control is all digital. So obviously this is something to factor in if you're against like the whole button touch thing. But yes, it is, again, quite easy to use. You can literally just tap here and this will adjust the temperature just like this. Tap in the climate there and that will bring up the full menu. You can hear it all come on just like that. But we will turn it off and save the battery. But yes, touch for the climate control, but buttons for the steering wheel. So I guess that's quite good. Now up next is a test drive. Now sadly I don't have access to one right here, so for that We need to travel about 3.5 hours kind of up north, considering I'm in the south of the UK, for that test drive. So that's going to be in a couple of days' time. Right then guys, so I am in the hashtag 3 and we're about to go out and test drive. So I'm currently in an exhibition hall at the moment. Just going to wait for this car to go. As you can see, there are many cars for test drive. So we'll skip forward in a minute where we're actually out on the road, where I can actually test this car out. Alright guys, so we are out on the open road, finally navigating throughout London's very busy roads, and I'm joined by Michelle, who's giving me directions. Michelle, where are we going here?
So it says follow it going around.
Oh, we'll look straight ahead?
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, London's roads are not great. There's literally roadworks everywhere. So Michelle, who is working with Smart today, has given me directions.
Yes.
We can test out the hashtag 3, hopefully on some faster roads.
A1.
So obviously guys, first impressions of the hashtag 3. Well, as I'm driving in the centre of London, it is obviously quite difficult to open it up, but there is a road just around the corner here, which is 40. I know, in the middle of London, that sounds a bit weird, but we'll be able to open it up and try it out. And as you know, with EVs, they are very responsive. Michelle, I hope you're holding on tight.
I am.
Good.
For dear life.
Yes. Right, heading out onto a dual carriageway in the centre of London in 40.
Jeez.
Yes, it's very fast.
Damn.
So yes guys, in terms of how it handles, I'll say it's very similar to the hashtag 1. It's certainly very planted on the road, as of course the battery is right under the floor and has that instantaneous torque that you'd expect from an EV. So all round it's pretty good, considering of course the car's curvature on the back. I really like it, and it's, as I said, it is giving me those Mercedes GLC Coupe vibes. It's really cool. Definitely going to sell quite a lot of these, I think, Smart will. Honestly, I think an EV would make sense actually in London, because you can literally dart in between, and I'm not a huge fan of driving in London at all. Everyone darts in and out of each other, and it's stressful for sure, especially when you don't know the roads. But having an EV where you can just quickly nip in there and stuff like that, it's pretty good. And obviously the infrastructure for London in terms of EV charging is vast. There's so many, but as I mentioned earlier, you're better off obviously charging at home if you can, if you have off-road parking, and basically just making use of the cheaper rates you can get at home. But if you don't, obviously shop around and make sure you find the cheap rates to make an EV worthwhile. Well guys, after our mini excursion around London, yes, I can honestly say that the Smart hashtag 3 is super smooth to drive. It's so similar to the hashtag 1. So by all means, get in contact with your local Smart retailer and they can of course arrange a test drive for you guys to try out. But thank you so much for watching. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you next time.